When you find a real estate platform that aligns everyone in the entire company financially by making us real estate agents owners, so when the average agent wins, everyone wins, that's the secret to success. And when you surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurial people who absolutely love what they do, they love serving people, they love God and life, and you put yourself in an environment of high energy, high producing, positive people every day, you can't help but succeed in business and life. We are changing the real estate industry and changing real estate agents' lives. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever Podcast. Hey,
let's go.
Good morning, Pat. I'm super excited to have one of our youngest business partners on the Financial Freedom Forever Podcast today, Pat Nadeau from Kingston, Ontario. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm awesome. That got me hyped up, that little intro there. I got to be honest. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking for myself in all those pictures. I think I saw myself in there a few times. So
yeah. You were in there with your dad and some of your partners there that went to Vegas pro-COVID there when you guys first got plugged in.
Man, that's when you look at the lineup of like, that's just all of our business partners that just rolled through there. That's a deep lineup. Which is pretty awesome. We're pretty blessed.
Yeah, we'll unpack that a little bit too, exactly how that's helped your business. But first, let's introduce yourself to our group of everyone listening in. Thanks everyone who's joining us. Make sure you give us some love and share, ask any questions to Pat. But tell us your story a little bit, your real estate journey. Before you got partnered with us, and what your business looked like, and what's happened since.
Yeah, 100%. So my real estate journey started a lot earlier than most, growing up with my dad in the business. I'm 26 years old now. I think between him and I've moved 23 times. So real estate is pretty much kind of all that I know. I started when my dad opened his brokerage. He ran an independent brokerage for about 10 years. And I started cleaning the toilets and cutting the lawn and doing the weed whacking and all the stuff that, nobody else really wanted to do. So that's how I started. I actually wasn't really sold on getting into real estate right off the hop. I knew I always wanted to be in sales and be around people. And, I love people. So I knew that was something that I wanted to do. But actually first I wanted to be a Molson rep. So I wanted to sell beer. It seemed like the best of both worlds.
I love it.
But when I was I went to school in Ottawa and I landed an internship with a real estate company up there, and the rest is kind of history. So when I started with them, I was an inside sales agent. So as you know, it's probably one of the hardest roles to fill and to do in the real estate industry in general. So just basically they call it warm calls, but it's cold calls. Nobody wants to answer the phone. So
right.
Trying to convert leads for these guys. And I was super, super blessed to be a part of a huge team up there. They're now, since then, they've become the number one team in Ottawa. They're moving 350 to 400 properties a year. They've got a team of about 13 agents now, and they were building when I was with them. I got to watch them build. It was actually the fastest growing RE/MAX in the world. Oh, wow. So we had disco balls in our office. We had guys going up and down the hallway, high-fiving and stuff, high energy. And the first week that I was in that office, I was like, I'm sold. This is the business for me. And, I could see myself doing this. So anyways, I worked with them for probably a year and a half, 2 years, came back to Kingston to work with my old man. And I was actually telling the story this morning. We were talking to an agent, and I said, man, I was so fired up coming back. I was like, let's conquer the world. So my dad's brokerage was Nadeau Realty, and I wanted to bring that thing to I wanted to bring it across the continent. I was like, let's open an office in Ottawa. Let's go to Toronto. Let's go here. Let's go there. Let's blow this thing up. And he just said, you know what, it doesn't work. We probably won't be able to scale it like that because of how the model was built. So we did great. We loved it. It was, he ran the brokerage, like I said, for 10 years, and every year he did better than the year before. So he was happy. And then a gentleman by the name of LaFountain gave him a call. And forever will have changed both of our lives, as you know. So we made the switch pretty quickly to EXP once we saw that what they had to offer. And once he was finally able to admit to himself that he could never offer that, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So since we've come to EXP, we just found out we went from the team itself went from about 300 units a year to 550. So we were very, very happy about that. And I personally, my own self tripled my business the first 12 months at EXP. So it's been a ride, man, and we owe it all to you. So I appreciate you, man. I don't tell you that enough, but you've definitely changed our lives. So yeah, that's my the lengthy version of my real estate journey so far. And I just hope it doesn't stop growing. It doesn't seem like it is with EXP. It seems like the sky's the limit. So I hope that's how it continues to go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in Canada still don't even know or really heard too much about EXP. Most people in the States know about it now, but most people haven't sat down. They might have heard about it, but not very many of them actually sat down and looked at the business model and did the math. And I'm just proud of you and your dad and what you guys have done. I mean, when I called them, I hadn't called them and talked to him, I don't know, 7-8 years, but touch base with him, asked him if he was open to looking at something I was excited about. He was entrepreneurial and open-minded enough to look at it. And I remember the first, it took you guys about 60 days before you actually, which is pretty fast because you had your own independent company, right? He told me it was your best year you guys ever had that year before. And the first 3 days he was sharing, why he shouldn't or couldn't do it because he just put a new $10,000 sign up and all the reasons that go through our head about, hey, this is something I built. But you said something to him. He told me this, that you said something to him that really helped flip the switch. And then his questions started changing and asking me, well, what if we did it this way? And how does this work? And then of course, I just connected him to my business partner, Al Stasic, who talked to him and answered more of his questions than I ever did. Because, he had his own independent company as well. And him and Al hit it off, and I got him connected to a few other people. And then 30 more days of due diligence and a trip to Florida, right, was your first live event. And then you guys came over. But what was it that you told your father that had him really change his focus and thinking of really looking at this model?
Well, I mean, you say it took us 2 months to make a decision, which it did for him. 2 months of sleepless nights and doing a lot of research, but it took me 30 minutes to make that decision.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I watched the video and I watched that 30-minute video and I, took a minute to analyze it. And I turned to him and I just said, man, this thing's going to swallow you whole. It's going to swallow you whole. It's coming. They're coming for the big box brokerages first. But then at some point after that, they're coming for you. And I said, you can bury your head in the sand as long as you want. But whether it's 5 years, 10 years down the road, they're taking over. You just can't compete with this. That's basically what I said. I said, no matter what you do, what you try to do, you can't compete with this. You're not set up for it. So
that's awesome. And thanks for being honest and, being, hey, like a son to your dad and being honest with what you thought. And felt, because I think after that, he really started, his questions started changing and looked at, how do we need to do this, right? I want to shout out to Dave O'Connor and James and the other people that are jumping on Facebook here. Hey, give Pat some love. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them. But what were the top 2 things that you were most excited about when you saw the model, Pat, and it would help grow your business?
I think it's the top 2 things that I was most excited about when I first saw the model. Yeah. So, oh, sorry, I was just clarifying. So I think it's changed, to be honest. I think when I first saw the model, I mean, I just knew that it was better. So I knew that what we were doing now, or when we were doing then was not able to compete with what they were offering. I think the number one thing that I was most excited about was probably the training, because his issue from an independent standpoint was always training. It was always how do I provide training to all the different agents at the office, because we are all at different levels, right? So for me, my number one problem that I struggled with a couple of years was that I wasn't growing, definitely not anywhere near the rate that I wanted to. So I knew that the training was the key to that. I mean, obviously the stock and the rev share and all the rest of it was good. I think the training was definitely the number one thing that attracted me. But I think that's changed a little bit since we've been exposed to the model and since we've been here. But training was what got me, because I was an agent that was 2 years, 3 years in the business looking at it. It's very different than what he was looking at, right? He was looking at, obviously how to get to 500 ends, and I was looking how to get to 40 at that point. So very, very different, points in our career. So training, I think I had to say, if I had to pick one, I would say, and the cloud-based too. Every other company was doing it. And I was wondering why we weren't there. So I think the training and the cloud-based, if I had to pick two, but training definitely number one.
All right, that makes sense as a newer agent. I think when you were with your father's brokerage here for a couple of years, and you had got your business up to what, 20, 23 units, which is good, man. I mean, my first year I sold 7 and then 10 the second. It took me quite a while to get up there, but you're at 23 already. And then your first year with EXP, what was your production after your first year?
So I brought it to 60 units.
Wow. So you tripled.
But my goal was always to do 40, because my father, as impressive as it is, did 30 his first year and 40 his second. Wow. So very competitive, if you know the two of us. And I wanted to get to that point. Also in our city, it seems like a lot of the agents, if you're doing north of 40 ends a year, you're in the top 10 to 15 agents, I would say, maybe 20, probably 20 actually, I should say. So that's where I wanted to get to, is I wanted to get to that 40 unit mark. And I had a 5-minute conversation with John Kitchens, who at the time I didn't even know who he was. He walked up to our table in Vegas, and Jay Kinder introduced him like he was somebody that I should know. And he was sitting there in his board shorts, and him and I had a 5-minute conversation that changed my business. And I said, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go. I want to get to 40 units in 12 months. And I actually did 40 units in 6 months, the 6 months after I left that conference. Wow. So they say big decisions are made at big events. And I think that's definitely true, because I made the decision at that Las Vegas event to go all in. And anyways, it's changed my life and my business for sure. So
what was the piece of advice that John gave you while you were hanging out there at the Las Vegas event? Unpack that just a little bit, and then tell us what you've done specifically that's really helped you triple your business your first year. And I want to shout out to Suzanne, Sunil, Joey, and be careful, Pat. Pierre's watching us too. So hey, Pierre, thanks for jumping in.
Oh no.
I should have told you that.
So the conversation I had with them was what I was just saying. I was at 20 ends. How do I get to 40? So we broke down, the percentage of deals that I was doing with buyers versus sellers. It was about 80% buyers, 20% sellers. And I think sometimes it takes hearing the right thing at the right time as well. Because I think, I do read a lot of books and follow a lot of realtors and stuff, and try to soak up as much from industry professionals who have been there before me to implement back in my business. So I've heard things like that before, but he just said it to me, like I said, at the right time in the right place where I had open ears. And he just said, if you take that 80-20 and you flip it, if you did 80% buyer or 80% sellers and 20% buyers, he goes, I guarantee you'll double your business. And that's all I focused on for 6 months after that was sellers. And it worked.
And here we are.
Jay Kinder said, sellers make babies.
That's right.
Get leads, right? So anyway, so that's all I focused on. That was my main takeaway. And I'm sorry, you said something after that. Oh, what I was focused. Yeah. So that's what I focused on when I came out of there was how can I generate more seller leads, and also the follow-up with the leads from the sellers as well, because, obviously, like you said, sellers make babies. So you want to make sure that the leads that you're getting from those listings, you're converting into more business too. Right. So yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you, John Kitchens.
Yeah. And you think about that, right? John is a sought after high level real estate coach. that people are paying, 25 grand a year for more to be part of get his one-on-one coaching, right? So through the NAEA, and how awesome is it that we get access to that, absolutely free in our back office because we're business partnered with them. So it's hard to believe. I mean, you're actually in business with Jay Kinder and Michael Reese and John Kitchens. Have you taken advantage of one-on-one calls or on the group calls that we have 4 days a week? You said you were on a call with John the other day. How has that really changed your business, and what do you pay for that?
It's absolutely free. So I think, and that's what I was saying earlier, like when I first came over here, I think the training was the number one thing that I was most excited about. But I think what I didn't realize went hand in hand with the training is collaboration. So right. The fact that, some of the top producers in the world, Jay Kinder being number 2 at Coldwell Banker, 500 units a year. And I get to be in a room with that guy and pick his brain for free. The first event that we left, I said, it would have cost me thousands of dollars just for a few minutes of each of these individuals' time. And I'm sitting there having it might have costed me a drink. I might have bought them a drink or two, but I got to sit across the bar from them and pick their brain openly. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's my problem. So the biggest thing that I've enjoyed and that I feel like has changed my life and my business has been the collaboration. So, before I was, at Nadeau Realty, the only person that was outproducing me, the only person that I had to look up to for advice or how to fix or correct what I was doing was my father. And I make this joke all the time, but honestly, who wants to listen to their father? So, so now it's like I would work hard and I'd put my head down, but I was spinning tires. Like I wasn't necessarily getting there. I was just working hard and not knowing which direction to go. But now every time I've had an issue in my business, it's almost like it's solved instantly. Hey, Jay, hey, John, hey, Al, hey, Andre, this is what I'm struggling with. What's the solution? And they're just like, I've answered this 1,000 times because I ran a coaching company or been a coach or I've done a ton of production. This is how you fix that problem. And it's fixed right away. It's like they say the thing about the airplane, making a correction as they drive. An airplane in the air makes, I think it's 80 or 90% of the time they're driving, they're making corrections. Now I get to actually make the right corrections, but also the plot is like the path is plotted. I just follow their path as opposed to just working hard and putting my head down and hoping I get somewhere. The one quote that I like to say a lot, I probably overuse, is good artists copy, great artists steal. I said that to you before we got on the call, but now I get to steal everything that they do, everything that they've done to get them to that point where they're, and the success that they've seen. I'm just doing what they did.
Yeah, just copying the people above you that you want to reach at their levels. And please note, that's just it. You don't have to steal. Because we're partners, we just openly give it to you. It's openly given to everyone in our network because of the model. What was the most difficult part of being a solo agent? And what did you struggle with most? And how's that changed besides just, the training? Anything on top of that you can add to that?
I think that's basically it is the hardest thing was direction, accountability and direction and not really knowing what the path to where I needed to go. Right. Like I said, there was really only one person that I could follow who's been very successful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's built a very strong business. But now it's like I have an excessive amount of people that I can follow and watch what they do because, at the end of the day, and my father says this all the time, what works for one person may not work for somebody else. Right. And so I might not like a certain way that he's done something and I might want to try it a different way, but now I have those options. So direction, I think, is definitely like the thing that's changed since we were on our own is now I know what it takes and what I need to do to go where I want to go.
That's awesome. And I want to give you a credit where credit is due to, Pat, because I know, you mentioned, being at your father's company and some people may think, well, geez, he probably, handed you a bunch of leads and a bunch of business, and, he probably handed you a lot of stuff compared to anyone else in the company. And that's why you're successful. But your father told me himself that he treated you just like everybody else in the company. Is probably harder on you and give you less than anyone else because he didn't want any kind of favoritism. And he knew you had to make it on his own and make a name for yourself. And kudos for you for putting your head down. And I mean, hey, even doing 23 deals in your first few years, that's twice as what I did my first years for sure. And then being able to triple that with the new model, that's impressive. So congratulations. I'm super proud of what you guys have done and where you're headed, because like we always say, we're just getting started, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What surprised you the most about EXP? What were you not expecting that it's even better than what you thought or didn't expect at all?
I think at first it was the collaboration. I think at first I didn't expect, when you're coming in, you start to meet a lot of these high level people, and they talk like they're going to be your business partner, right? And that's how it sounds.
Hard to believe though, right?
It is, but it's hard to believe. And the amount of help that I have had from such high level individuals, like literally just holding my hand through anything that I've needed to get through, that surprised me. But what surprised me the most is the two things that attract a lot of agents to EXP that didn't attract me at all. I didn't consider the rev share whatsoever. Bringing on other agents and being compensated essentially on their efforts, and being able to grow your team now almost worldwide. I mean, I don't know in how many countries we're in now, but that didn't really attract me, because for somebody that's 3 years in the business, I was at a very different level. That was the question for my dad. How do I attract more agents? How do I grow my brand? How do I grow my team? For me, it was, how do I grow my business? How do I sell? How do I get to 40 homes? That was all I cared about. And it's still like, I told you before the call, the next goal is 100. I'd love to do 100 ends in a year. That's a big, big goal, but that's what I'd like to do next. And that's still what I'm focused on. But in, the midst of things, because I'm so jacked up about EXP, I don't know if you could tell, I've just talked to a few people, right? So I brought on a few individuals, and those individuals have brought on a few more. And so my team is in three different states, a couple provinces, and I think I have 43 agents in my group. So
wow,
I never expected that at all.
So without really putting time and energy and focusing on, because a lot of people hear about EXP, oh, that's a recruiting company or whatever. Well, they don't know, besides being the fastest growing company globally, we're right up there at the very top in the billions that we're selling in real estate every single day. And because 95% of the people are exactly like you and just trying to grow their real estate businesses and sell more homes. But that's impressive. So you have, over 40 people on your team, and you said in a couple of states and provinces. So you're in a different country, right? And getting some passive revenue share from just probably sharing it with a couple of your buddies, right? I mean, telling a couple of good friends because you're excited about what it's done for you.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you feel about being an owner of the company?
So I was going to say that. I was going to mention that as well. Like, that was one of the other things that shocked me as the stock has been going up. I mean, the stock's a bonus for me. I don't even that's not something that I think about at all. Like I said, with the rev share, it wasn't something that I really, I was like, this is something that Nadeau Realty could never offer, but it wasn't something that really excited me to start with. And it's been really awesome. It's just one other source of revenue that I definitely didn't have before. And I don't know, it's become a relatively lucrative rainy day fund, which I'm very, very happy about. So
yeah, and it's not just a few bucks. I mean, it's isn't it like six figures already?
It is, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember your father had texted me once. He texted me often. He actually just texted me yesterday again, thanking me for calling you guys. Because he just looked at his numbers and went from the 250 to like the 550 or whatever the exact number was, and selling houses. But he told me, now instead of working 80 hours a week, he feels like he's semi-retired because he gets to golf 3 or 4 times a week now and spends so much more time with his family. And that's just a life changer, right? So it's that's just really cool.
Yeah. I think, the key to any business is comes down to leverage, and EXP just built a model that you're able to leverage your efforts more than any other company, I think.
Right.
So it's freed up his life. It's changed his life. You talk about the stock, he just paid for a boat with his stock last year. There's a classic father-son move of do as I say, not as I do. Cause he said, don't touch your stock. And then he sends me a picture of a boat. I said, that's fine. But as you know, the ticker for the EXP stock is EXPI, and he lives on the Thousand Islands in again, Aquay up here. And I said, you need to name that thing EXP Island Time. So I think that's cool. Going to be the name of the boat, but it's changed his life.
I remember when he told me about that, he actually at first said, hey, you're the first one. I'm sure he told Marion, and I think Marion's on the call as well. Hey, Marion, and we even have Mr. Nick Krem on listening. So that's
big awesome. Man himself.
Nick. But I remember him telling me, hey, I just bought a boat with my stock, but don't tell Pat, because I told him to save it for his retirement. He goes, but I'm glad that he told you. He fessed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also remember when he told me that, he told you to look at your stock because you had, like you said, it was just a bonus. It wasn't something you were really paying attention to. And then you looked at it one day and you're like, holy crap, I got X amount in there already. And you didn't know that was U.S. funds either, did you?
No, I didn't. And I was already impressed. And then he told me, oh yeah, by the way, that's in U.S. And I guess that's the only time, luckily, the Canadian dollar hasn't been worth much. But I was like, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now you mentioned the support that you get from all your other business partners, with Jay and Al, myself, and so on. I know some people wonder, hey, this is a cloud-based company. I like to walk into my office and go and talk to my broker. If I got a broker question or problem or issue, I want to go in and talk to my broker. Have you had any experience with needing to go and talk to your broker? Because before it was your dad, right? But now we have, I think five or six different brokers in Ontario. Yep. Have you had any experience with that? And how's that been for you?
Phenomenal. Because like I said at the very beginning of this call, who wants to listen to their father anyway? So as him being my broker, I was very hesitant to ask him for any advice. But I mean, it's been great. I don't need to go into the office our time is very valuable, as you know, in this business. So I'm calling someone if I need advice on something. I'm not going into the office. We've got a lot more productive things to do. So I've called her anytime I've had an issue. She answers right away. She's held my hand through anything that I've needed. She's been phenomenal. So I feel like I have a personal relationship with her now, and I don't know. It's been good. It's I feel like I know her well now. We're very lucky to have the person that we have, I think.
You want to shout out to Kathy and Simone and Audrey, who joined us as well. Again, guys, if you have any questions for Pat, put them in the chat, and make sure to share this live with your friends. Just a couple other questions. What do you think about getting access to? Do you take advantage of the calendars of Jay and Al and Michael and John, and actually get in their calendar? I mean, people say these guys are, they're high level people, and their teams are selling hundreds of homes. They've been owners of their own coaching company. How much time do they really have? Have you or your dad taken very much advantage of their calendars, and what does that have meant to you?
Yeah, so my dad definitely has. He's at a higher scale than I am, so he's had bigger questions, but I've very limited amount of times have I really got into their calendar and tapped into them personally, like got on a call with them, because I don't need to, because they do a live, I think it's 2 or 3 times a week on Facebook that I can tap. That's where I go first. So I'm basically on a call with them anyways. I just type my question, and I actually preload my questions, and I'm sure Jay doesn't like this, but I have like a novel for him. Here's what I'm struggling with. And then he covers it live. So I know that he's already got that time booked off. But the higher scale questions, like right now I'm looking at doing my first hire. That's I've pretty much leveraged myself to the point where I think that's hopefully the next step. But it's a very intimidating thing. It's really scary, and it's an investment at the end of the day, right? So I tapped into Al for that 8 months ago. He told me to do it then, and I didn't listen. And I talked to John Kitchens. I got on a call with him about 2 weeks ago, and he basically smacked me in the head and said, "Why didn't you do it 8 months ago?" So I think that's the other part of it too, is you can have all the coaching in the world, but if you don't implement, and if you don't actually do what these people, these high level people are telling you to do or have done, it doesn't get you anywhere, right? It's like these events. I think the events are life-changing, and they can be life-changing if you actually, and you are the perfect example of this, Andre. I got to give, props to you. You implement, you see something that people do and you go after it and you just do it. And the thing is, it's just like adjust your sails as you're, on the water, or, get the plane moving and fix it as you go. Just implement what it's doing. It's not going to be perfect when you start.
Right.
I'm a big guy on social media, but when I started, it was ugly. And it still is sometimes, but these guys have done it, and it's working for them. So implementation has been the other thing too, but which is, I need to practice what I preach here and listen to those two gentlemen and get on that. But yeah, so the biggest, problems that I've had or like things that I've needed to overcome, I've tapped into their schedule for those types of things. So, and they've answered it like this, like, just here's what you do. It was like, it didn't even need to be, they took longer for me, but it didn't need to be anything longer than a 10-minute call. But
yeah, that's how awesome is that? I mean, we can get in their schedules, or, I mean, that's even better. Like you said, get on it. It's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4 times a week that either Jay and Al, John Kitchens, they're on our private Facebook groups, and they're just pouring into our group. Hey, we got a couple of questions from a few people. Kathy Kluk has asked, "Hey Pat, what's something you have done to stay focused on your production goals?"
I don't know if I can switch my. So, okay. Anybody that knows me knows I am, I get distracted very easily. So I actually have the only office in this building that has no windows because I get distracted. Okay. So I can't turn it all the way around, but I have a list of every single buyer that I'm dealing with and what their buying criteria is in front of me. And then I have all my goals written down right here, as well as like my, quotes and stuff that I like to live by. So basically, if I was to get distracted, which is very easy for me to do, when I look up, I'm looking at what I need to get focused on. So that's been one of the things that I've done. But and then the other thing is this book right here is I write down my goals every single day. Something I got from Grant Cardone. I fill a page of that of my goals every single day, because if I'm not doing that, it's like that helps me make my decisions throughout the day. Every decision that I make throughout the day should be based on what aligns with my goals and what doesn't. So I guess the goal book and keeping that in front of you, and it's like the vision boards and stuff like that too. But right. Just keeping everything in front of me, I guess, is what's helped me stay focused.
I love that. Yeah. I got to start doing that myself. Looking at I look at my goals often, but writing them down every day, or something new ones every day. That's something I probably should start doing myself. So that's awesome. You mentioned about taking action, and that is key. And really quick, and I don't know if I shared this with you in the past, but we go to all these conferences, right? And we come back with pages and pages and pages of notes of things that we've learned and things we want to implement. What I've always done on the way home, on the airplane ride home, I go through my notes, and then I write down, 1 to 50 or whatever there might be, and just write one-liners down of whatever pertains to that thing that we want to implement. And then I go through that whole list when I get back, either on the complaint or at home, and then think, okay, what is my goal? What's your main goal? And what are the top things I need to do to reach that goal? And then I number, if I have 10 or 50 or how many notes on there, and I just number them. And then every Monday from 9 to noon, I scheduled in my calendar and I work on number 1. And I don't look at number 2 until number 1 is done. And if you can get 5 or 10 max of those things done prior to the next event that you go to, you're lucky. And then you go to the next conference and you just do it all over again. Take your old list, look at the new one, and reorganize it. And you always get the top, 10 or 20 things done at the end of a year. And that's what really has made a difference for me as far as taking action. But thought I'd throw that out there. We got another question for you. Somebody's asked, what does your daily calendar look like?
So another book. Okay. So here's one thing. I have about 5 of these books on my desk. One for each different thing. So this is going to be really sloppy. I have my list of stuff I got to do. Oh, so I literally write down everything that comes to my head that I should do in a day. And then I have a sticky note on top of it of the top 5 things or 10 things. So that's the first thing that I look at every day when I get to the office, outside of like obviously our showings and stuff, listing appointments and everything that we got to get to. But yeah, just like the goal sheet, it's like I got to put that stuff in front of me or else I'll just be kind of going aimlessly. I need to have the goals basically written down so that, I guess it's like the goal sheet and then the implementation sheet. And the implementation sheet is basically what I'm looking at every day. So.
All right, awesome. And you mentioned your next goal is to reach 100, which I know you're going to hit. You said one thing that you're going to do is take the advice of your coaches and partners and hire, your first administrative person. Are you thinking virtual assistant VA, or are you thinking someone right there in your office?
I'm thinking somebody right here in our office. We've tried the VA route before, and I don't know. I just think there's something about knowing the person a little bit better, having them right here, and so that's the route I'd like to go, and I think I'm going to need them for more than just an ISA role and stuff. It's going to be kind of like an all around business manager type of deal. So like there's sometimes where I'm like, shoot, I got to write an offer and I got to be in an appointment in 30 minutes and it's going to take me 30 minutes to get there. If somebody could just drive me there, I could get these 2 things done. So that might even be something that I need them to do. Chauffeur. Yeah. So that's, I'd love to get there. Ryan Serhant style. That would be cool. But yeah, so it's just so that I can kind of do my highest and best use activities a little bit more. And that's also part of what I'm like. I'll have another call with John soon here, because I'm going to break that down with him and kind of come up with, what I need to have, what that role looks like. I'm still in the process of kind of like figuring that out. Sure. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Kathy said, hey, thanks, Rockstar. Implementation sheet and goal sheet. Got it. She's going to do the same. So that's awesome.
No problem.
It's funny because if you could see my desk right now, it's a mess. And I can see 1, 2, 3. I got 3 notebooks on my desk and I can see 5 on my floor. And I do exactly what you're doing. There are different notebooks for different things. And I do the same exact thing. And it's also funny. My coaches that we were paying a lot of money to told me when I first got to, the most I could get to was about 40 transactions by myself with no help, just like yourself. Well, you hit, looks like 60. But then it was time to leverage. And my coach told me, get an administrative person, get that next person. And I didn't listen to him either. I did the next best thing and got a buyer agent, because in my mind, my non-entrepreneurial mind at the time thought, well, geez, I can get a buyer agent, it cost me nothing. I'll just give them all the buyer leads and train them and get them running around showing my buyers, and I'll just take care of the listings. And by doing that, even I went from 40 deals to 79 that next year with that buyer agent, doubled the business because you doubled the hours, right?
Yep.
And then the next year, I took the money that I got from the buyer agent, the extra income, and then paid for the administrative person the next year and went to 109 transactions. But the mistake I made and maybe you should look at the same thing, Pat, get the admin, do that first. I mean, you need to get the admin to do those things so you can do the higher money making activities. Yeah. But you may look at getting a buyer agent as well. Looking back, I should have done both. I should have got the admin and the buyer agent, and I could have went from 40 to the 109 probably that next year instead of 2.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we're lucky. So I kind of already have that because of our team. Like our team locally has like 33 agents on it now, which is crazy because before EXP, I think we're at like 13, could never really get past 15. I think maybe 17 was the highest we ever had. And we went to 33 in the first 2 years at EXP locally, just on our team. So I do have that support. And that's the thing. So leverage, like I said, like that's kind of been like the key thing. I do have the admin support already, which is awesome. So leverage that first. Then I got to the buyer's agents, but we've worked out a different system too with the buyer's agents, which has been really good. And then now it's the pipeline is what's falling apart. So that's kind of like the hole in my business right now, is not continuously filling that pipeline, which is why we have the dips and highs in our business. But I mean, that's a cool thing, right? We can watch what other people are doing in this company and tap their brain on stuff like that, right? So,
hey, just a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up. If there was just one takeaway that you want to make sure that anyone listening to our call today, any friends of yours that are local or people that you know that you care about, what would you want to make sure they understood and took away from this interview?
I think that in general, everything like EXP is a phenomenal model, and it's hard not to be excited about it. I hope that people have seen how excited I am and how much it's changed my life and my father's life from this interview. That's the number one thing I'd like for people to take away. But as far as like considering the model for agents out there, 3 things. One, I used to play hockey back in the day, and when teams would call me and talk to me about potentially coming to play for them, I was fired up. You felt like you were on top of the world, right? It seems like when we're calling agents to let them know about EXP because we feel like they'd be a good fit, or we feel like we might be able to help their life, their walls get up. And it's like, be excited about us calling you. The fact that I'm calling you is like the biggest compliment in the world. It means I think the world of you, and I think that you deserve everything that this company has to offer. It's the biggest compliment I could ever give you. So one would be, actually take the phone call and realize that it's a compliment, not, it's not a recruiting call. We're all here to try to help because, I mean, we're fired up about it. It's exciting. It's hard not to be excited when you hear all these things that have happened, right? 2, I would say, have an open mind, because that's the hardest thing to do is try to admit that you may not know everything, or try to admit that the way business is done right now is potentially not how it's going to be done in the near future. Try to have an open mind and consider when you're considering the model. And 3 is do the math. Do the math on what it's going to do for your business. Do the math on what you're paying now. Really do the math, because I don't know. I think some agents just look at their splits and what they're doing, where they are. What are you getting back? What do they offer for that? And what are you going to get here? And what are your, also it's do the math, but it's also what are your goals, and how does the math align with your goals? If, the one thing I heard Al Stasek say that I'll never forget, he said, a brokerage is a vehicle. So if you got to get from point A to point V, what vehicle do you need to get there? If you got a Ferrari in one parking spot or a bicycle in the other, which one are you going to take? The Ferrari is going to get you there a lot faster. The bicycle you'll get to your goals, but you got to pick the best vehicle to get there. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right? So I think that would be kind of what I would try to, I would hope people were able to take away from this.
All right, great. That was 3 great points. That's awesome. Kathy asked, what are the 4 training calls weekly that we have access to? Well, I don't know the exact names of them, but on Tuesdays, there's a Q&A with John, Kitchens, Al, and Jay on our Honey Badger private Facebook page. Wednesdays, John actually interviews one of the 7,000 people in their group. What they are killing it in, if it's social media, building a team, getting leads, whatever it is that that agent is doing an awesome job is. So they have an hour interview, which is uploaded to that Facebook page afterwards as well. So they're all recorded. I think there's over 150 training sessions on interviews. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, I know there's a coffee with John Kitchens on one of those days and one other one, but they're all listed in the Honey Badger private Facebook page. And then on top of that, we do this one. I do this one every Wednesday to interview someone on our podcast, but our group as well, every other, the second Friday of the month, which is this Friday coming, we always bring someone from outside our group that's killing it in the organization and do a mastermind. And we just started Thursdays at 1:00. Every Thursday at 1, it's called Agent to CEO Unstuck webinar. So, I mean, there's more than you can actually get to. That's why we record them and then we put them on our private Facebook pages. But that's what is out there for people that are in business with us. So thanks for that question, Kathy. My last question for you, Pat. if you could join EXP all over again, would you do anything differently? Did you make any mistakes? Did you do anything? Would you do anything differently that you did do or that you should have done, that our listeners can learn from, if you can think of anything?
Yeah, I think, well, two things. One, I think I would have pressured my dad to do this sooner. It took him 2 months, which was, 2 months longer than I thought he needed. I do think I did try to push him as much as I could. And obviously there's a lot more decisions to make when you're bringing over a whole brokerage.
Sure.
So that would be one. And two, honestly, to this day, I feel like I wish I would have shared this with more people. And I hope to moving forward because of how much it's changed my life. But I want to share this with more agents because I feel like I owe it to them. The people that I respect and admire in this business, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice by not telling them about this model. So I think that would be my biggest regret. And that's not even just, when we first came over, that's still today, I think, because this thing's changed, this thing's changed my life. So I could get emotional about it, but it's been a hell of 2 years. That's all I can say. So I would like to see more people. I mean, how are you not excited? I'm sure you've got a smile at some of the texts that I send you when I'm, fired up about stuff that's happened. I'm finally doing the stuff that I wanted to do for the first 3 years in this business. I'm finally there because of everything that this model has been able to give me. So, I'd love to see other people be that happy and be able to get to where they want to go and drive the Ferrari.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, real quick before we sign off, if you're a reader, what is the best inspirational book that you love? Or if you're a movie watcher, what's the name of your favorite movie of all time?
Okay, I got three. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, I just read, loved it. I basically nodded my head the whole time and was like, yes, I agree with this. Yes, I agree with this. So The Compound Effect, that was a really good one. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, that's one I reread every couple of months because it's just so good. And then, so those are two kind of more sales related, but another one that really changed my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just the way that people think about money by Robert Kiyosaki. That one changed my life too. So yeah. It's an old one, but it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Pat, I really appreciate you jumping on today. We have your Instagram on there. So if anyone has any questions for you or like to pick your brain, they'd love to go from 23 to 60 units in their first few years in real estate. Is that the best way that they should reach out to you?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Would love to connect. Would love to help. Anything I can do.
Well, Pat's in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, but like you said, he's got business partners in several different provinces and states. And I know we have people in other countries, in India and Mexico. So whoever's listening to this, you're an agent who wants to go to the next level, give Pat a call or get connected with on Instagram, and we'll see you at the top or from the top, right, Pat?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see everybody next Wednesday at our Financial Freedom Forever podcast, and we'll see you in Vegas, right, Pat?
Absolutely. Can't wait. Let's go.
All right. Have a good day, buddy.
All right. You too, man.
All right.